Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So today I wanted to sort of consolidate my thoughts on modern investment grade CGC 9.8 comic books and just sort of come up with a short list here of really what I think are the best modern investment grade CGC 9.8 comic books that you could buy. And, when I think about modern, I'm sort of thinking here in this video for this list, sort of after 1998, books that came out after 1998. I think some collectors out there, modern pretty much means like anything sort of after 1985, 1986. So this will be sort of a new modern list, I guess you could call it. But yeah, I really wanted to get definitive and come up with, ended up being a short list of 4. So, 4 of what I think are really the best modern investment grade CGC 9.8 books that you could possibly buy, and some honorable mentions here as well. So, yeah, before we get into it, I would invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. Yeah, love to have you on our comic book collecting, comic book investing team. And hit the bell to get all the latest video notifications, and add me on Instagram and Twitter too. Yeah, I'll have all the links in the description below for all that. But, okay, let's get right into it. And you know what? We'll sort of start with like the elephant in the room. So, Ultimate Fallout number 4, CGC 9.8. Yeah, such a great book to have, and a really, really hot book right now, for sure. This is the first appearance of Miles Morales, first appearance of the new Spider-Man. So, and the prices are getting pretty crazy for this, but let's maybe talk about why they're getting pretty nuts. We'll look on the census here. So, 1,691 CGC 9.8, it's in the blue label out there. So a lot of these, it is one of the most popular books, so you expect a lot with that popularity. So, but the 9.8 ratio is a lot more important with some of these popular books. So 32.4% is the CGC 9.8 ratio. So of all graded copies, 32.4% of them are 9.8s. And for a modern book, that's a really nice, pretty rare 9.8 ratio. And it certainly compares well to Edge of Spider-Verse 2 and NYX number 3. Which are really some of the big, key issues that are really high in price, similar in price to an Ultimate Fallout 4. That's the lowest CGC 9.8 ratio out of those others, so it's more rare in the CGC 9.8 than Edge of Spider-Verse or NYX number 3, or Edge of Spider-Verse number 2. So it always compared well, and, Spider-Man being such an iconic first appearance, I was really kind of pounding the table sort of 6-7 months ago to really buy this one. And I paid, it was $354 for this one. And, around that time, a lot of them were getting up to $400, maybe a little bit going over $400, but there was a lull there, and I got really lucky, to be honest. Just the only thing I wish I would have bought more around $400, maybe 1 or 2 more, because I only got 1. So we'll talk about price now, because I did a completed listing before just doing some research for the video here. $700 one sold for on eBay. There was an auction there where I think it went to $630. That was about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And even me, I was like, wow, you probably want to be patient here. $630, that's a pretty high price. And, I remember some New Mutants 98s going for $630 in the CGC 9.8 white pages about 5-6 months ago. So, but hey, $700 now. I think what's happening is something that I've sort of alluded to and talked about is that NYX number 3 is $750, $850. It was even $1,000, 3-4 years ago, let's call it. That book's been slowly on the decline in the 9.8, but still around, the lowest I saw was $650. So they really go for $750 to $850 quite often, NYX number 3. So this with the lower CGC 9.8 ratio, and to me, an equal, maybe even bigger first appearance in Miles Morales' new Spider-Man, could do some catching up in price to that, and that's what I think is happening. $700 people are paying for this on eBay, a completed listing, getting right up to that NYX number 3, and I think, yeah, they could really be sort of neck and neck and really kind of lead the modern issue charge here, possibly, for Marvel books, certainly. But yeah, one that, I didn't want to leave it on the list. It's hot right now, I think you do want to be patient with the whole stimulus check market. Hopefully it settles in the sort of 600 to 700 range, and you can look at getting it closer to 600 in like a couple months for, Ultimate Fallout 4. This is the first print too. The second print, a couple people on the team saying that they're paying about $300 for that one. I have a raw in that one. That's the second print with the limited print where they show his face. Looks very similar to this one. That's really the one that I would recommend. There's that other, I think it's a Pacelli variant or something with the close-up of his face. I would sort of go with the second print that looks similar to this one. And the ultra rare variant as well, like I think I saw a listing where it was like 10 grand or best offer on eBay. So you're seeing those absurd ones for that, where that one sort of normally, I think a little under 2,000 would have been like a good fair price for that sort of 6-7 months ago before all this hype blew up. And yeah, there's obviously some of these rumblings of the Miles Morales or a Spider-Verse movie, maybe even a live action Spider-Verse movie. So I think that's where you're getting a lot of the price heating up. Mixed with that, yeah, some of the facts I just showed you, it looks really, in the CGC 9.8 especially, compares really well with that low CGC 9.8 ratio. So I wanted to talk about Ultimate Fallout 4 for sure. Number 2, though, on the list here is Guardians of the Galaxy number 1 from 2008. And this book is really kind of stands out for me. And I think it's a really good time to buy it right now, sort of in between those Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So let's look on the census. Guardians of the Galaxy, this one really quick first. This is sort of what I think of. It's when a lot of the team members sort of join the team of the new team Guardians of the Galaxies. And in my Overstreet price, guys, it says it's the origin. So it's really sort of the origin and first full appearance of the new team Guardians of the Galaxy, with Star-Lord, Gamora, and Rocket Raccoon, Groot, like we all know from the MCU movies. So this is the first full appearance and origin, basically, because there's Annihilation Conquest number 6, which comes out a month before this, and that's sort of when the new team Guardians of the Galaxy first forms. But this is kind of when they get all their members in there, and plus there's the origin. Another thing that's great about this book, it's more rare on the census than that Annihilation Conquest number 6 in the CGC 9.8. So it's a better collector item, I think, and it's more expensive too. So 164 CGC 9.8s in the blue label. And 23.4%, this is the big deal with this book, 23.4% of is the CGC 9.8 ratio, so of all graded copies, 23.4% of them are CGC 9.8s. And for like a modern book coming out after 2000, that's really low for like just a normal first print of a first appearance of a really kind of iconic superhero team that's getting more popular every day and has more potential, I think, every day. Yeah, with that 23.4% CGC 9.8 ratio, that's lower than Ultimate Fallout 4, which in itself is pretty rare. So it's lower than NYX number 3, lower than Edge of Spider-Verse number 2. And to be honest, I am really not even aware of any other book in the 9.8 that has a lower CGC 9.8 ratio that's sort of come out after the year 2000 here. I don't know of any, so I'm sure there's one. Definitely let me know in the comments below if there is, but with this low ratio plus the matching kind of really popular iconic first appearance, like this for me is just a really good book to consider if you like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like you got the facts on your side with this book, and it's really similar a situation to an Ultimate Fallout 4 6 or 7 months ago, how I was talking about that, like comparing its CGC 9.8 ratio to sort of its immediate competitors and going like, wow, it's more rare, but the price is less. Very similar to this one. More rare than Ultimate Fallout, all these other books in the CGC 9.8, but the price, $170 in the CGC 9.8, I'm still seeing on Go Collect, so a couple of them are still selling in that sort of range. Yeah, I grabbed one of mine, it was like $160, and one of mine was $190. And probably about a month or two I grabbed it now ago. 2 of them, yeah, I do have 2 of these too, because I really was doing these comparisons 2-3 months ago for the first time. And really like the rarity in the CGC 9.8 of this book for a modern book. So $170, if you can get it for that price, it's a buy. I want another one. I want one more. I think because I really like to have those facts, and just to see that 9.8 ratio so low for a modern book, I really like that feeling. Plus, the Guardians of the Galaxies were like my favorite MCU movies to come out. Yeah, like I really love the Avengers ones too, and I mean they're all pretty kind of cool, just being a huge comic book fan, but took me off guard and really loved the humor in the movies and stuff like that. So lots of potential, and after I did those videos, I'm pretty sure there were some team members that were really trying to get this book, and it was really tough to get it sort of under $250 basically. So I think there's definitely some immediate potential in that book. If you can get it for 170-ish or under 200, I think it's a buy. But potential for 250 to 300, like really right away. Especially when the next MCU Guardians of the Galaxy movie comes out. So yeah, it's even a good timing kind of event, or just a timing thing with Guardians of the Galaxy #1, where it's a good time to buy that way. Like there's no big movie in the theaters yet, which, that's coming in a year or two. Okay, top modern investment grade books. Next one, Batman Beyond #1. Yep, had to. One we talk about a lot, but this is kind of the original one that I always really thought there was a lot of potential with this book. First appearance of Batman Beyond, this one, kind of the adaptation. First Terry McGinnis says up here. So look on the census here, 186 CGC 9.8 on the census, only 186 of these. And 37.1% is the CGC 9.8 ratio. So, I always say Batman Beyond's really popular. Like all the comic books, even now, the newer books are quite popular. And for the popularity of the character, there should be like 600 or 700 of these in the 9.8. But because it's pretty rare on the census and because it was a low print, this came out in 1999, kind of the comic book recession, like right in the middle of it, where, all the MCU movies didn't kind of start hitting hard yet, and really comic book collecting kind of took a back seat where little kids were really like playing computer games and stuff and video games. So it was the tech bubble too, so printing in general, like books, were just off the menu during that time. It was all about computers and everything. So not a low print. Only 186 of these, so I got 2 of them in the 9.8. Yeah, it was one that, when I first got into collecting, I just really loved the cartoon as a kind of a teenager growing up, and it was kind of natural for me to want this book, but I always felt that there was some potential, and it's kind of coming to fruition maybe, because there was, we did one on the pricing video the other day, and it sold for like $710, I think it was, one of these on eBay. So, you're right around that 700 now in this sort of stimulus check environment. I'd be patient here, try to get it, hopefully under 600 in a couple months here when the market just, breathes and maybe lulls a bit. But it is one, I think there's a lot of Batman Beyond fans out there, and there's only 186 of these out there. So it's just one of those books where, the demand is a lot more than the supply, I guess you could say. So one I'd still recommend, I think Batman Beyond, a movie would be great. That's another kind of wild card. And then people are really embracing it as, Terry McGinnis is the new Batman. Like it's like the first appearance of the new Batman. So being a huge Batman fan, even if you don't really like the cartoon, I think it's becoming more of one to get. And then if you go back and watch the cartoon, you love it. I mean, the first 2 episodes, the first season basically is amazing. Yeah, it's such a great cartoon with a great plot and everything. Alright, last book here, and we'll talk about some honorable mentions because it was kind of hard to choose, but last one here is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #51. So a really cool thing to update on this book actually, because I was looking on the CGC census, but this is the first appearance of Jennika. So she's the 5th Turtle member, the first new girl, Lady Ninja Turtle. And so I was looking on the census, and now they have a note on the census for this issue, first appearance of Jennika. So that's great. I think, I've sort of hinted on that in the video. They're kind of behind on these labeling, the CGC labeling for some of the first appearances that are a bit underfollowed and new. They were on this, but now on the census, you're seeing that first appearance of Jennika when I looked up this one. So that's really cool. I mean, I got 3 of them because I really thought this book had potential right off the bat. Ninja Turtles, such an iconic team, another new addition, like that's going to be a big sort of first appearance that's going to last a really long time, I think. But I got 3 of these without this sort of first appearance of Jennika, so that's kind of a bummer. But I don't know, it'll kind of probably as time goes on be a little more classic maybe. But so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 51. Look on the census, there's 54, CGC 9.8, so, this is a 2015 book, but it's, definitely was one of those books where nobody really knew that it was Jennika's first appearance when it came out, so, it kind of got thrown in the bins, maybe beat up a bit, so there's just not too many of them out there. The 9.8 ratio, 83%, so I think more are certainly going to come online and become graded. So it's not like extremely rare. Like most of these graded, obviously 83% of them are 9.8. So it's all just about this first appearance and the coolness. And yeah, coolness of the cover too. There's a sketch version, retail incentive, that's supposed to be sort of more rare as well. But I really like this cover. It's by Ken Gehring, this cover. The sketch one is Kevin Eastman, which is cool. You like I like a Kevin Eastman cover. That one has about the same number of 9.8s on the census too. So even though it's more rare, there's about like 50 of each, I think it was. So kind of equal rarity though. But I really like this color first print, kind of a nice classic team up cover on the cover. So price for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 51. So I think right now, in a sense, I think some people are a bit disappointed with the whole Jennika miniseries that came out, and certainly, I don't know, a couple guys in my local comic shop were a little bit disappointed by it, and it didn't really seem to sell very well, I think. So maybe a bit of a lull here, where I think hopefully you can get this book around 150 bucks, you know, maybe up to 175. But have saw them sell for 230. Yeah, they really, when that sort of Jennika #1 was going to be announced and everything, this book kind of heated up to like 230. I think one maybe even sold for 250 on eBay during that time. But sort of, I think they're settling right around that 200, maybe a little bit below. So depending on how much you're kind of bullish on the issue, you know, 150 to 200, I think is a really good fair price for this one. And yeah, there's only 54 out there, so you got to be kind of patient. I got 3 of them, so I'm not selling those. So there's only 51 out there to buy, basically, in the CGC 9.8. So, but a good issue that's got a lot of potential, I think. I think that's why you want to buy this one. It's for the potential. You look at NYX #3. You look at Edge of Spider-Verse #2. You know, first Spider-Gwen, first X-23. These big female heroes. They've really, in the 9.8s, they're so expensive. So, you know, if you can get in early on this, around 150, 200, that was my thinking the whole time. And I was pretty early. Like, one I bought for, it was like 77 bucks on an auction. And then I bought the other 2 for about 100 bucks. Yeah, it was like 110. One I wanted to be early on, and I think the price has increased since then, and there's a good chance it's got some potential, I think. Yeah. Really quick, actually, I probably should have showed you right before there, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 95. So this is the first appearance of Jennika. Jennika becomes a Ninja Turtle, yeah, in this book. So 51, first ever appearance. She's kind of a Foot Clan soldier in this one, and introduced as a minor character. She gets critically injured, infused with Leonardo's blood, becomes the 5th Ninja Turtle in this book here, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 95. I really love this white. It's the Comics and Ponies edition, the Kevin Eastman variant. Limited to, I think it was 750 print. I really like this cover out of all. Like, there's more limited. The San Diego Con variant was more limited and is more expensive than this one. So this is kind of the mid-tier. There's like the first print in 95. I have those in the 9.8 too. But I got one of these, and I really like this one. It's just, the white cover kind of grows on you, and really like the detail. And classic Kevin Eastman turtle cover, so with Jennika kind of prominently on the cover, so with her sort of wounds and some of the IVs kind of sticking out of her arm. So I kind of like this book, and it's, yeah, one to recommend on top of 51, but maybe not a definitive investment grade book, just a cool one that I wanted to mention because it was really related to that one. So honorable mentions here, because yeah, some great honorable mentions. Really had a tough time keeping this one off the list. Teen Titans #12 in CGC 9.8, first full appearance of the Batman Who Laughs, which I think is certainly, probably, for me, is the coolest villain who's come out in recent memory, and probably the villain who kind of has the most potential, I think. And, you know, DC has already shown that they're really going to push him with the sort of the Batman Who Laughs series, the limited series that came out. So this book is the first full appearance of the Batman Who Laughs, and in the CGC 9.8, it is quite rare. The 9.8 ratio is right around Ultimate Fallout 4. And that's interesting because this is a 2017 book, so, you know, even newer than a lot of these. Usually 2017 books are similar to Jennika, where it's like an 80%, 70%, 60, maybe 50 is getting pretty low for a brand new book. But for some reason, this first appearance kind of slipped through the cracks. People didn't take care of it. Just kind of read it, didn't really know there was a big first appearance in it and beat it up a bit. And it's a pretty low 9.8 ratio for 2017 book. So that's why I think in the CGC 9.8, the prices are, really heating up. And, I had kind of got at this one in the 9.8 just before it really blew up. I bought mine for about $220 US. And even then I was like, wow, over $200 for a modern book. Like, that feels like a lot. But, so in the last little bit, we did a pricing video a week or two ago. This book sold, it was like for $420, $460, and then $499.95 was one as well. So really heating up. Could be one to definitely look to get closer to $400. Maybe if you're patient here in the next, 4 to 6 months type of thing, it dips below $400 again. Because it is a modern book, even though it's rare in the 9.8. Yeah, this could really have been kind of a top 5 list, to be honest. All these honorable mentions actually are really investment worthy, but that one really does kind of stick out with that pretty low CGC 9.8 ratio for a book that's come out, 2-3 years ago only. So not an old book and, still pretty rare in the CGC 9.8. Next one here, honorable mentions, NYX number 3. Yes, so first X23. For me, this book has a lot going for it. One thing for me I don't like about it, well, 2 things I'll say is, I don't like the cover that much, so the cover is just uninteresting to me. And then the second thing for me is I have no real nostalgic connection to this book. I was out of the hobby during this time, so I wasn't collecting comic books. And getting back into the hobby, I've become more familiar with it, but it's not, I'd much more rather have some of these 80s and 90s books that I really remember when I was collecting a lot in the 90s. So personally, that's why I don't have this book in the CGC 9.8, but still, it's a great book to have, and there's a lot of potential if they've ever sort of come out or gave a push to X23 in movies, which could certainly happen. I think a female Wolverine would be a huge hit in a movie. I think people would really take to that. And if that happens, this book will do really well. Because, the CGC 9.8 ratio, I'll know not as low as, it's not as rare as Ultimate Fallout 4. It's like 41%, I believe it is. And there's 1 or 200 more copies in the 9.8 on the census as opposed to Ultimate Fallout 4. It still looks pretty good on the census for a modern book, and you get that huge first appearance with a lot of potential. So, certainly one to mention. Edge of Spider-Verse number 2 is the last honorable mention. Do want to keep it kind of to a short list. I don't want to have tons of honorable mentions, because this really is a definitive modern investment grade list. These are the ones that you'll want to look at for sure. So, Edge of Spider-Verse number 2 is for Spider-Gwen. And certainly there's that more rare variant of this one too that's really expensive. This book hasn't seemed to heat up as much as Ultimate Fallout 4, and that kind of makes sense because it's not as rare on the census as Ultimate Fallout 4 in the CGC 9.8. I think it's 60%, the 9.8 ratio on this one. So more of a normal modern book 9.8 rarity. Whereas Ultimate Fallout 4, it's a kind of, and Teen Titans 12 are kind of outliers where, for some reason, really rare in the 9.8. And obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy. But Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, for that big Spider-Gwen first appearance, I think it's still a book to want. I'd look to grab this closer to $400. I think it has heated up to sort of $500 here with Ultimate Fallout 4. But it hasn't got to $700 like Ultimate Fallout 4. And that's because it's not as rare in the CGC 9.8. That 9.8 ratio is double, I think, almost of what Ultimate Fallout 4 is. So I always thought, wow, Ultimate Fallout 4, Edge of Spider-Verse, Ultimate Fallout 4 is way more rare in the 9.8. Always thought Ultimate Fallout 4 was a better buy, and I think the pricing now is showing that, where this is selling for $700. So I think Edge of Spider-Verses are heating up to about $500 in the CGC 9.8, but hopefully you get it closer to $450 or $400 for this one. There's a lot of these out there, so you're patient on your searches for this one too. One might pop up where you could just get it for $400 really quick, because there's so many of them. Alright, so those were the honorable mentions. I'll have all of the lists of the issues, the ones we talked about in the main list, and the honorable mentions in the description below. But concluding up with some top picks. So for me, Guardians of the Galaxy number 1 from 2008, the first full new team Guardians of the Galaxy. That really sticks out for me. It's just the 9.8 ratio is really low. The price is really low pretty much too. It's not hot. It's in between movies. So that for me is it just kind of sets up to just hunt that book until some of these Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer drops and stuff like that. I'm sure this book will heat up. But given the facts, where it's so rare, I think there's just more potential for this to really heat up. Batman Beyond #1. Yeah, gotta be my top pick. This is, I think it was like the second or third video we ever did on this channel was saying, yeah, I love Batman Beyond. And I had, I think, maybe two then, maybe one or two. But I got two in the CGC 9.8 and a really nice raw copy of that, and still on the hunt for probably one more, either raw or 9.8 of Batman Beyond #1. And yeah, it's just, people are embracing it as the new Batman. Like, yeah, Terry McGinnis is the first appearance of the new Batman. It's less about Batman Beyond now. So yeah, still positive on that one, and it's really expensive, so you want to be patient. And then, yeah, you know what, like, the Ultimate Fallout 4 is really hot right now. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 51, another. It's almost like trying to pick your favorite child almost with these books. So really, in each way, like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is not as hot right now and maybe has more potential, but still some questions maybe as far as fans not really latching on to Jennika as much as maybe people would have liked with that limited series. Maybe not doing as well. With Ultimate Fallout 4, it's so hot right now that I'm sort of tentative to kind of pound the table and say, yeah, just buy Ultimate Fallout 4, whereas Guardians of the Galaxy and, even Batman Beyond #1, I mean, the price is really high on that too, and I think you really want to be patient during the stimulus check right now. Okay, that'll be it for the list here. Yeah, just wanted to get sort of a definitive modern video out there. Not very many kind of eclectic picks in this video, just like the main ones. Wanted to talk about them on the census and pricing. These are really, it's a good list if you're starting out collecting, I think, or maybe you're getting into CGC. Like, this is a really good sort of the key issues that you really want to look at first, the big ones in the modern age that I think are, great investment grade books. Yeah, I think you got a long-term time horizon like me, I hopefully I'll hold on to these for like 15, 20, maybe even more than that. And I think all these books will probably do really well during that time. Yeah, so thanks so much for watching today. Yeah, like I said, really wanted to get a kind of a definitive modern CGC 9.8 list out there. Really quick, if you haven't already, I invite you to join the team, man. Subscribe to Team CGC. Hit the bell for all the notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter as well. Yeah, message me on Instagram, more kind of on Instagram and answering everyone's message. Love to chat on Instagram if you want to message me about anything, comics or whatever it might be. Alright, thanks so much for watching today. Really appreciate all the support and all the messages from the whole team. And I'll see you guys on the next one.